Okay, I'm getting into chapter 7 today. After this video, assuming I don't forget, I'm going to start my big timeline thingy, and we're going to switch to the Gnostic texts about Sophia. That way, as we go through this, we can ask in every step of the way, every story, whatever, what would Sophia have done? Um, cool. So, chapter 7, reading the New Revised Standard Version, New King James New Revised Standard Version, Updated Edition, New King James Version, and the Amplified Bible. So, then the Lord said to Noah, "Go into the ark, you and all your household, for I have seen that you alone are righteous before me in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of all clean animals, the male and its mate, and a pair of the animals that are not clean, the male and its mate, and 7 pairs of the birds of the air, also male and female, to keep their kind alive on the face of all the earth. For in 7 days I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and every living thing that I have made I will blot out from the face of the ground." Face of the ground. And Noah did all that the Lord had commanded him. New King James Version. Then the Lord said to Noah, "Come into the ark, you and all your household, because I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. You shall take with you 7 of every clean animal, a male and his female. Gross. 2 of each animals that are unclean, a male and his female. Also 7 each of birds of the air, male and female, to keep the species alive for the face of all the earth. For after 7 more days I will cause it to rain on the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and I will destroy from the face of the earth all living things that I have made." And Noah did according to all that the Lord had commanded him. Amplified Version. Then the Lord said to Noah, "Come into the ark, you with all your household, for you alone I have seen as righteous, doing what is right before me in this generation. Of every clean animal you shall take with you 7 pair, the male and his female." God, that phrase. "And of animals that are not clean, 2 each the male and his female. Also of the birds of the air, 7 pair, the male and the female, to keep the offspring alive on the surface of the earth. For in 7 days I am going to cause it to rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and I will destroy, blot out, wipe away every living thing that I have made from the surface of the earth." So Noah did all that the Lord commanded him. Okay, now we're in verse 6 to 10. He was 600 years old when the flood of waters came to the earth, and Noah with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives went into the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Of clean animals and of animals that are not clean, and of birds and of everything that creeps on the ground, 2 and 2, male and female, went into the ark with Noah as God had commanded Noah. And after 7 days the waters of the flood came on the earth. Okay. Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters were on the earth. So Noah with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives went into the ark because of the waters of the flood, of clean animals, of animals that are unclean, of birds, and of everything that creeps on the earth. 2 by 2 they went into the ark, to Noah, male and female, as God had commanded Noah. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were on the earth. Noah was 600 years old when the flood deluge of water came on the earth, covering all of the land. Then Noah and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him entered the ark to escape the flood waters, of clean animals and animals that are not clean, and birds and fowls, those are synonyms, and everything that crawls on the ground, that came motivated by God into the ark with Noah 2 by 2, the male and the female, just as God had commanded Noah. And after the 7 days God released the rain, and the flood waters came on the earth. Verse 11 to 16, baby. In the 600th year, we already said this. Why do we need to say it again? In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day, all of the fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of the heavens were opened. The rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On the very same day, Noah with his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, whatever the fuck his name is, and Noah's wife and the 3 wives of his sons entered the ark, they and every wild animal of every kind, and all domestic animals of every kind, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, and every bird of every kind. They went into the ark with Noah, 2 and 2 of all flesh, in which there was the breath of life. And those that entered, male and female of all flesh, went in as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, on that day the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of the heavens were opened, and the rain was on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On the very same day, Noah and Noah's son Shem, Ham, and whatever his name is, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them entered the ark, they and every beast after 40 days and 40 nights. On the very same day, Noah and Noah's son Shem, Ham, and what's his name, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with him entered the ark, they and every beast after its kind, all cattle after their kind, every creeping thing that creeps on the earth after its kind, and every bird after its kind, every bird of every sort. Why the redundancy? I guess because, okay, yeah, um, because they were oral stories and traditions and histories at first, and, like, they had to make it stick in people's brains. I don't understand though why it's still written like this, because it hasn't been an oral tradition in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years, or at least hundreds of years. Thousands of what? It's been a long ass fucking time. So why do we still keep it written like this? Redundant and like circular and repeating, so repetitive. Why? Why? It's whatever. I guess it doesn't matter. And they went into the ark to Noah, 2 by 2, of all flesh, in which is the breath of life. So those that entered, male and female of all flesh, went in as God had commanded them, and the Lord shut in it. Verse 17 to the end. The flood continued 40 days on the earth, and the waters increased and bore up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. The waters swelled and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the face of the waters. The waters swelled so mightily on the earth that all the high mountains under the whole heaven were covered. The waters swelled above the mountains, covering them 15 cubits deep, and all flesh died that moved on the earth, birds, domestic animals, wild animals, all swarming creatures that swarm on the earth, and all human beings. Everything on dry land in whose nostrils was the breath of life died. He blotted out every living thing that was on the face of the ground, human beings and animals and creeping things and birds of the air. They were blotted out from the earth. Only Noah was left, and only those with him in the ark, and the waters swelled on the earth for 150 days. You know what literally never occurred to me until just now? Is, why not the fish? I guess maybe because, like, his goal was to eradicate and restart humanity, and if you're gonna do that by way of flood, then all the animals and plants and stuff are gonna die too. But like, it's water, stuff already lives in the water, so the stuff that's in the water is gonna be fine. So just alright, sure. 17 to the end. Now the flood was on the earth 40 days. The waters increased and lifted up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. The waters prevailed and greatly increased on the earth. And the ark moved about on the surface of the waters, and the waters prevailed exceedingly on the earth, and all the high hills under the whole heaven were covered. The waters prevailed 15 cubits upward, and the mountains were covered, and all flesh died that moved on the earth, birds and cattle and beasts and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, and every man, all in whose nostrils was the breath of the spirit of life. All that was on the dry land died. So he destroyed all living things which were on the face of the ground, both man and cattle, creeping thing and bird of the air. They were destroyed from the earth. Only Noah and those who were with him in the ark remained alive, and the waters prevailed on the earth 150 days. And finally, the flood, the great downpour of rain, was 40 days and 40 nights on the earth, and the waters increased and lifted up the ark, and it floated high above the land. The waters became mighty and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the surface of the waters. The waters prevailed so greatly and were so mighty and overwhelming on the earth that all the high mountains everywhere under the heavens were covered. In fact, the waters became 15 cubits higher than the highest ground, and the mountains were covered. All living beings that moved on the earth perished, birds and cattle, domestic animals, wild animals, all things that swarm and crawl on the earth, and all mankind, everything on the dry land, all in whose nostrils was the breath and spirit of life, died. God destroyed, blotted out, wiped away every living thing that was on the surface of the earth, man and animals, and the crawling things, and the birds of the heavens were destroyed from the land. Only Noah and those who were with him in the ark remained alive. The waters covered all of the earth for 150 days, 5 months. Alright, there you go. I have nothing to say. There's something about the phrase of God shutting them in. I always just took that to mean, that it was so massive and the door was so massive. Like, the door was also the ramp that everybody got into. So, like, it couldn't be closed by humans. Closed by humans because it was so big. And also, like, logistically, I guess. Well, yeah, because you couldn't do it because it was so big and God had to do it. But there is some shit there. Like, this was all, like, set about by God and, like, produced this massive boat with this massive door that only God would be able to open and close. So I definitely think there is, at the very least, some manipulation there. I'm not great with symbolism, but there's probably a lot of that too. Let's actually go on over to the Gnostic texts, bitch. I honestly know essentially nothing about them or the Gnostic beliefs yet, other than, like, the very, very, very absolute basic understanding of Sophia on gnosis.org, the Nag Hammadi library. I'm starting with the Apocryphon of John, the Secret Revelation of John, the Secret Book of John. And in this section, intro by Lance Owens, and a lot of this shit is still really hard for me to wrap my brain around. But I did want to note, for whatever reason, Gnosticism came up as a path. I always had it in my head that Gnosticism was kind of felt like an elitist-ish adjacent vibe, kind of hoity-toity type of shit, like ceremonial magic. Like ceremonial magic seems to me, because it means hidden or secret knowledge. What it actually means is these texts were hidden and they were secret, because I also, keep in mind, I have a very, very, very baseline understanding of all this so far, but in my understanding, my little teeny tiny understanding so far, it's that these texts were literally hidden because they were so, I don't know if antithetical is the word, but threatening to Christianity, or like at least modern Christianity and things like that, and that they were protest stories against like the ruling class at the time. Well, gnosis is knowing, but like apocryphon means hidden or secret, and that's because it was hidden and it was kept secret because it had to be. So there we go. Okay, BRB. Oh, and also it says right here, by its own declaration, the Secret Book of John is a sacred text intended to be shared only with individuals properly prepared to receive its revelation. So it goes on to say, in 2nd century Christian communions, circulation of the text probably remained restricted, and then amazingly, despite limited circulation and the effective later efforts by evolving Christian orthodoxy to destroy all such heretical scriptures. That's why it was heretical, so it had to be hidden, because otherwise it would have been destroyed and they would have been killed and all that kind of shit. Okay, and also this is helpful. It goes on to say the Secret Book of John is the one Gnostic text every student seeking to understand the roots of ancient Christianity must read. So, shit's hard for me to wrap my brain around, but apparently this should help. Cool. Okay, so the Secret Book of John. Let's go. It is gonna be quite long, so I think this is gonna be a little mini series thingy. And this is the what they recommend for the version that they recommend for beginners first encountering this book is the translation by Stephen. Yeah, that's Stephen Davies. So they say, it has always seemed to me that the Secret Book of John evolved to be more difficult to read than it originally was. Versions of it have been improved by several levels of alteration. One set of levels is the evident addition of rather lengthy texts, like a list of magical names, a dialogue on the soul, and a providence hymn. What does providence mean exactly? Protective care of God or of nature as a spiritual power. Or nature as providing protective or spiritual care, timely preparation for future eventualities. Like a petition to God for protection, essentially. Is the addition by various scribes of what they intended to be useful comments, explanations, clarifications, and supplementary details. Are different color fonts for what this author believes to be the original text, what they believe to have been added by a Christian editor who sought to present the text as a long dialogue between Jesus and John, son of Zebedee. Zebedee, Zebedee, Zebedee. Zebedee, 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 Zebedee. Okay, so let's get into it, shall we? Blue again, probably likely added by Christians. One day John, the brother of James, these are the sons of Zebedee. John was going to the temple, and a Pharisee walked up to him and said, "Hey, where's that teacher?" meaning Jesus. John said he's gone back to where he came from. The Pharisee said that the Nazarene misled you, told you lies, closed your hearts, and turned you away from your ancestral traditions, which is true. Anyway, so the Nazarene. Oh, okay. So the Nazarene is meaning Nazarene as in somebody from Nazareth talking about Jesus. Okay. Jesus told. Okay, so maybe I don't know if that's true. Jesus seemed like a cool guy, but they sure as hell did turn away from their ancestral traditions at some point, didn't they? When I heard these things, I, John, turned away from the temple and went off to a deserted mountainous place. I was very unhappy, saying to myself, how was the Savior designated? Why did his Father send him into the world? Who is his Father? What kind of realm will we go to? He's having like a crisis of faith, right? That's what I get from that. For although he told us this realm is modeled on the imperishable realm, he didn't teach us about the latter. For although he told us that this realm that we're in now is modeled on the imperishable realm, he didn't teach us about the latter. All of a sudden, while I was contemplating these things, behold, the heavens opened, and the whole of creation shone with a light from above, and the world quaked. I was afraid, yet behold. A little child appeared before me in the light. I continued looking at him as he became an old man, and then he changed again, becoming like a young man. I didn't understand what I was seeing, but the one likeness had several forms in the light, and these likenesses appeared each through the other, and the vision had 3 forms. He said to me, John, why doubt? Why be afraid? Don't you know this image? Be not afraid. I am with you like the royal you. Always, I am the Father, the Mother, the Son. I am the incorruptible purity. I have come, motherfucker. I have come to teach you about what is and what was and what will be, in order for you to understand the invisible world and the world that is visible, and the immovable race of perfect humanity. Okay. Raise your head, understand my lessons, share them with any others who have received the Spirit, who are from the immovable race of perfect humanity. Alright. The One rules all. Nothing has authority over it. It is the God, it is the Father of everything, Holy One, the Invisible One over everything. It is uncontaminated, pure light, no eye can bear to look within. The One is the invisible Spirit. It is not right to think of it as a God or as like God. It is more than just God. Nothing is above it, nothing rules it. Since everything exists within it, it does not exist within anything. Since it is not dependent on anything, it is eternal. It is absolutely complete, and so needs nothing. Needs nothing, you say? Like humans love and worship? I guess I've never heard of people talking about the Christian God as needing humans love and worship, but act like it. It is utterly perfect light. The One is without boundaries. Nothing exists outside of it to border it. The One cannot be investigated. Nothing exists apart from it to investigate it. Alright? The One cannot be measured. Nothing exists external to it to measure it. The One cannot be seen, for no one can envision it. The one is eternal, for it exists forever. The one is inconceivable, for no one can comprehend it. Alright, I guess, yeah, that explains the confusion before, because if you can't, sure. The one is indescribable, for no one can put any words to it. The one is infinite light, purity, holiness, stainless. The one is incomprehensible, perfectly free from corruption. Not perfect, not blessed, not divine, but superior to such concepts. Neither physical nor unphysical, neither immense nor infinitesimal. It is impossible to specify in quantity or quality, for it is beyond knowledge. The one is not a being among other beings. It is vastly superior, but it is not superior. Okay. It is outside of realms of being and time. For whatever is within realms of being was created, and whatever is within time had time allotted to it. The one receives nothing from anything. It simply apprehends itself in its own perfect light. The one is majestic, the one is measureless majesty, chief of all realms, producing all realms, light producing light, life producing life, blessedness producing blessedness, knowledge producing knowledge. What the fuck is this? Good producing goodness, mercy producing mercy, generous producing generosity. It does not possess these things. Okay. That I get, but why the fuck is it written like that? I hate it. Ew. But okay, yeah, so it's like, I think at least sort of God or whatever the hell, if they created everything, then they also created life, knowledge as a concept, goodness, mercy as a concept, generosity as a concept, which would also mean violence, murder, right? Or no, because if this is talking about, well, I guess we don't know. Well, if this is the original text, then I am pretty sure that this is talking about Sophia. And Sophia didn't create humans, Yahweh did. This is gonna get emotional, I think. When I first read just the tiniest little bit about Sophia, really hard to explain, but it was really, really emotional because it just felt like I've been trying to shove myself into the box of like in the mold of Christian like programming that we all have, and it doesn't work. It's never worked, and it never will work. But because Sophia is the predecessor to Yahweh, the Christian God, she, in a way, fits into the same framework, and it's like I don't have to force myself to fit into it anymore, but I also don't have to force myself to fully break out of it, because that's also like incredibly fucking difficult. It's more like just tweaking things about like how you believe and how you have faith, kind of, if that makes sense. And I think this is kind of touching on that, because she created everything that's good. It's hard to put it into words, but there's something there. Okay. Let's It gives forth light beyond measure, beyond comprehension. What can I say? What? Okay, so, besides the different font colors that this author puts in, they also put in square brackets for occasional short passages or phrases that they believe were added by scribes over the years. Additions that were intended to make the text more understandable or to identify elements of the text with aspects of the Christian religion. It gives forth light beyond measure, beyond comprehension. What can I say? His realm is his. Gross. His realm is eternal, peaceful, silent, resting before everything. He is the head of every realm, sustaining each of them through goodness. Alright. So there's that. We'll leave that there. And next time we'll pick it up with the origin of reality in the secret book of John.